So we'll call the meeting order at 6 p.m. We have 4 out of 6. So first item, additions or deletions to the agenda. So under old business, we're going to add Electric Avenue bus. And we're also going to add bus charger, because it's something we've discussed several times. And I have nothing else to add. Tracy, you all good? I don't know what she's doing, but we keep going back.
I know, I'm sorry. My computer's messed up. There, everybody's there.
Okay, you're all good, Tracy. Bob,
Right,
anything
sure.
else from you?
That was really it. And just to let you guys know, obviously, I think I'll let you know, but I gotta sneak out of here at about 10 of, so.
Yeah, we'll be good with you by then, I'm sure. You'll have had enough of us. Anybody on the board, anything we missed? Any additions, deletions? Cool. Members of the public, I don't see any. Valley News is here. Valley News have any public? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
She's good. She probably doesn't know you're talking to her.
Hey, Valley News, are you all set for public? Thank you. Members of the staff, Anne Marie, you were here first. Anne Marie Scott, do you have anything for staff?
Not at this time, thanks.
Cool. Bridget?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. Speak now or we forever hold our peace for this meeting. Hiring committee makeup procedures. Bob, I hope you kept that because we were relying on Kate.
I know. Well, so I can try to think, is that document in here or not? It is not in the hard copy packet, but you've seen it before. In essence, based on some feedback at a previous meeting, I met again with the principals, talked through some scenarios, prepared basically what ended up being kind of a second page, which had a process description on it of the steps that would take place through the hiring process. And as we talked about last time, keeping an eye on the timeliness because of pools, and including all stakeholders in the process. And I think everyone, at least from the administrative side, feels pretty comfortable about it at this point, and just wanted to bring it at you one more time and tell you we're good to go with it.
Okay, did you send that out? You didn't send it out in the packet though.
No, it's not in the packet, but it is linked in the agenda.
Yeah.
Did you guys look at it? Any of you?
No, I didn't. Unless
Okay.
if
Bob,
that's
just send it out to everybody as an attachment, and then we'll bless it next meeting.
We'll do that.
Okay. Is there any other old business from anybody? Cool. We're gonna jump right into new business. Greg and yes. Greg and Heidi, we're gonna let Bob go first so he can abandon us to go play in the center of the universe.
Oh, here's Laura.
Well, I got a ways to go, so if you want to bring in some of Greg's stuff first, actually, that would probably make more sense.
Okay. Hey, Laura, can you hear us okay?
I can.
Okay. So we're just seeing the top of your head, but
Yeah.
we are there you go. There's a whole Laura, at least. We're up to new business, and we're gonna jump around a little bit because we've added electric bus and the bus charger, and Greg's here for that. And he's also gonna we're gonna talk about the water system real quick and approve that if you guys want to. So why don't you start with the bus, Greg?
Sure. Yeah. So as you should see in there, we Dwight and I met with the bus company to talk through kind of what we need as far as charging. Well, first we met with the electricians after the last board meeting to look at all of our different options: single phase charger, 3-phase charger, digging a trench, taking it all the way down to the original spot. So the way these chargers work is they're very finicky, and they need, so as Joe from King's explained, he said if it's a 480 charger and you only bring say 472 to it, right, just because you have a little bit of loss in the wire size, he said the issue you run into is it won't run. So like if we went a long way, we'd have to really size the wire up. So that kind of took the running it all the way down to the original off the table. And then the building in Dover, power comes in at 480, and then it kicks down to a transformer that knocks it down to 110 and 220 out to the building. And that's a pretty small transformer that does that, and it's pretty old. And so if you did the level 2 charger, which runs on 240, he was like, you'd have to change out that transformer. And he's like, you're going to be 10 to 15 grand into a transformer before you even run out. He goes, with having 480 in your building, it really makes sense to spend the money and put the 480 charger in. So we got a number from them to install that of $5,650 or $5,640, I think it is. And then we have the add-ons for the bus was about $799, and what's going to be annual like technology piece to it, right? Which is the app. They have an app that like manages how it delivers the charging and whatnot to it. And then there's $10,000 for the upgrade to the charger, $2,300 for what would be the final commissioning to come out and commission and get the charger up and running once we've got it powered up and do the programming. And then there would be an additional $2,300 for a 25-foot cord instead of a 16-foot cord off the charger. So it works out to be about $16,000. I think it's $214 for the upcharging of that stuff, and then another $5,600, I think it is, from King's. I think I sent it all in the document. It ends up being about $22,000, and Dwight actually obtained $12,500 back from GMP on helping the infrastructure of getting it in place. And so the hope there is that would cover the King's cost of the electrical and would help offset some of the cost of the upsize charger to the level 3 charger. So like all in, it looks like you'd be at like $11,000 to $12,000 on about a $370,000 project. If that makes sense, if everyone's tracking with me. Sorry, that was a lot.
Well, you're including the cost of the bus in that too.
Yep. Yeah. So you got the $345 of the bus. You got the 16.2 and change for the up charges right on the bus. The improvements we're making as far as the charger and the cord, and then you have the $5,600 with them, and then taking the other money off. Yeah, but all in on the whole thing, that seems like a slamming deal, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, so did the windmill seem like a slamming deal too.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, questions or comments from the board, Dwight? You want to go first since this is your baby?
Yeah, thanks, Greg, for meeting with them and doing all the legwork. It was really great to get the response from Green Mountain Power. They actually had sent me a letter. I didn't receive that letter, but they had offered the funding, and that funding, they're basically giving us around $12,500 for the charging system. That's what that rebate is for, and actually is more. They prefer the level 3, which is really the one that we prefer as well. The level 3 charger. They were giving us more money for that charging system, so that really offset it, cut that price in half, get us down about 10 grand for really the system that we wanted. That allows the bus to be used twice a day if it needed to be, having that size charger. So that really is what I was looking for. It can be used if we need it for each day with that charger.
And that's also allowed to be warmed up when they get there.
Yes, and it can be warmed up. My only disappointment was the yearly fee that we had to pay for this. The yearly fee for the software. I tried to push back on that, but I guess the software is fancy and we need to pay a yearly fee of $500 or whatever it is.
It's $799. It was like $524 of one and like $160 something. It ends up being like $799.
That was unfair, and I tried to push back on that one, but I guess it's some kind of fancy thing that we need to pay for. But other than that, overall for the price that we're getting for that, just the 12 grand alone, really, that makes it a lot more palatable.
Okay, Mikey, I know you love electric vehicles.
Yeah, I certainly would love it parked with the rest of the buses, but I guess the voltage drop is a thing that I didn't think of. My question is, if they do the plug on the outside of the building, and we decide later that it is feasible for us to get it to the buses, could we put a conduit in anyways and sweep it up? Like, would this be wasted money if we decided to run it by the buses? Can we make it so at some point we can connect the dots?
Well, so where we're coming out, Mike, is basically as you pull up toward the kitchen entrance.
Yep.
It's right there on that last corner before it kind of juts in there. So really, if you were to come out, that's right where you'd want to come out anyways. So the fact is, we're going to come out, we're going to run right under the roof, the beams there, and then we're going to come down kind of those little bump outs there. So the reality is, if you wanted to then just run that, you'd have to pull new wire, obviously bigger wire. So you'd probably have to pull different conduit, but it would all pretty much be there. I mean, the reality is, he said the wire that you would have to pull to get that far versus where you are is about, twice the size. He was like, you'd be in $5,000 to $6,000 just in wire to get that far, and not have a volt drop. And these guys they've done all the ones at BMH. They've done quite a few of them around Brattleboro. So that was kind of why I wanted to use them, as I knew that they had a lot of experience putting these in for companies. So.
You all good, sir?
Good.
Do you have any comments, boss?
I'm assuming, Dwight, you've vetted this thing that it's not gonna just burst into flames at some point.
Yes.
Then I'm good.
Yeah, the company that we're using is provided buses to many different areas in the Northeast, and they've had good success.
But they've been running for a few years, kind
Yes.
of thing. Yeah,
Yes.
that's all. That would be my only concern.
They also were reviewed by the Vermont, what's the name of that company, Craig? The Vermont Environmental.
VIII.
Yeah, so they were all these buses were reviewed, including the one that we're getting by the Vermont Environmental Group.
All set?
Yeah.
Laura?
Pretty excited about the incentive. That's great. I appreciate all the work that's gone into it, and I am ready for us to have a discussion about any other risk factors we can and should mitigate. But otherwise, looking forward to moving ahead. I do wonder if any of the the charging infrastructure that's being installed, it is usable for to charge other things, Greg?
It could be, but it would be at the cost of the taxpayer. So if somebody brought their car in and plugged it in, it would just be taxpayer paying for it. Part of the issue they're running into at BMH right now is they're powered by your local power. So there's no way of knowing, who's using it.
Oh no,
Well, that was one of the things I was going to bring up because.
Well, wait.
Hold
Can I
on.
ask a question
No,
first to
right.
make sure I understand?
Well, hang on a second because
that's not a question.
it's part of he's covering what you're asking, so just hang tight for a sec.
Well, I don't think that's Laura's question. I think maybe are you referring to using the bus to power the school or to use the charger for the public?
Any number of things. Like,
Okay.
yes, could we use it to power the school? Could we use it for another vehicle?
Yeah. So I don't believe we can power the school with the system we have. So that wouldn't be what we'd be using it for. As far as the charger being used for the public, we discussed, Greg, about putting basically a lock on the charger, so that would not be available to the public. Is that right, Greg? Yeah.
So, Laura, we don't want anybody driving up there because, the only time the bus is going to be plugged in is when the bus is on the road, which is when there's school in session. So that was going to be my comment, was that we want to make sure that nobody else can use it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I wanted to know if it was possible. And we may want to then in the future look at installing some other chargers up there for cars, since more and more people are driving them and will be driving them. And since there are incentives now, it would make sense to try and capitalize on those incentives. That's it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, the problem with that too, though, is again, do we want a bunch of people driving up to school to charge their cars and leave their cars there? And that's what they're finding on the west side, and that's why some places aren't putting in chargers, because people show up Friday night, plug the car in, and pick it up Sunday on their way home. So,
Yeah.
I don't think that schools should be paying for other people's cars to be charged.
I would agree with you, Richard. There's a way to charge people for using it, which is what I'm talking about, kind of pay charge. So just something to think about. I think with our staff or, and others, it could be something in the future. And since there are incentives, we may want to think about it.
Okay, well, that's a different discussion. Are you set then, Laura?
I am.
Okay. So that was the only thing I want to know about securing it, because I've plugged my loaders in and shown up late at night and had people who've unplugged them and plugged their cars in, which didn't make me happy camper. But they weren't happy when their cord got cut in half. So, and then the other thing is, I just want to remember, and I want to make sure it's somewhere written, that we want training for the fire departments and first responders on, because this isn't a regular, like one of the car batteries, and the car batteries will kill people. This bus battery will probably kill lots of people if something happens. So we definitely want to make sure that that's in the agreements. What? Or,
part of the if I can answer that, Rich,
Yeah.
part of the part of the agreement with the bus companies, we get training, and part of the training will include.
no, I just want to make sure that's there, because
So the drivers will be trained, and
Right.
we'll add that to it as well.
yeah, how where you can cut and where you can't cut, and
Yep.
yeah, cool. And that was my only concern. So what do we need to do, Greg? Laura, I'm sorry, Laura, are you good? Because you were
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, everybody good? Okay, so what do you need us to do, Greg?
I would like you to move to approve the additional, King's Electric to install the power to it, and move to pay the additional $16,214 to Anderson Bus Company for the level 1 charger and additional accessories as needed.
Okay.
I don't know if you choose like where you pay that out of, you know what I mean? If you're choosing, do you choose to do it as a capital or overrun, say, transportation? I don't know how we go from there, but.
Well, that's our next question then. So Heidi, where's the money coming from?
Where do you want it to come from, Rich?
Well, I want to know where we have money, because we didn't plan on this. This is an overture. So what can we not buy this year, or what is gonna, I know 12 of it is probably gonna come from a grant, but as we found with the PBCs, PCBs, whichever way it goes, the state promises you a lot, and the government promises you a lot, and it doesn't always show up. And, it's the locals that are left holding the bag. Like, how come our building's not put back together the way it was before all this testing? So I just want to know, where do we have some money? Where is there something that we're not going to buy? I know we've had some other overruns we're going to have to figure out in the future. So anybody got any thoughts?
I'm not sure if Greg has any projects he can cut back from, but potentially your capital budget is where you want to pull it from. I can pull up your
Transportation budget?
Well, we have a bus budget. We have a budget for the school buses for replacing vehicles.
Yep. And that has, let me just pull that up. With the balance sheet.
I think we talked about having their surplus carry the cost of the bus until the reimbursement came.
Well,
if I recall.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you have 73,375 in your bus fund. So there's certainly money there that can be used.
That's a vehicle fund, so it also includes the food service car and includes tractor. So I don't know, out of that 73, what else are we buying this year and next year? I don't have the budget in front of
I
us.
thought we funded for a new vehicle to be paid for next year in the capital budget. Let me ask.
Well, that's what I'm asking. But
Yeah.
if we only have 73,000, that's not even buying anything.
I thought it was 100 for a new bus. Is there money in the budget for next year in capital?
Let me look at the capital. Hold on.
Transportation.
So let's see, in capital, you have
The capital,
You have
budget.
237,784 in capital that has not been assigned
No,
to be.
Heidi, hang on.
Okay.
If it's not been assigned, then we ask the voters before we assign it. So that's something we've always said.
364 is
No.
assigned.
Yeah, how much is in the vehicle capital reserve? We have a building capital reserve, an equipment, and a vehicle. How much is in the vehicle one?
You have two capital funds, one capital projects, one transportation. So are you talking about, I'm sorry if I'm confused. Are you talking about in the general fund? Or are you talking, you're talking about your special funds?
The transportation capital fund, yes.
That's 75,000.
Okay, and what did we have in there to spend for this? Are we buying anything this year?
I do not.
Heidi,
Yeah.
you had in there the new bus, replacing bus number 2 was in there for FY25, and we're not going to do that because we won't have to now. So actually you'll have that. You had 73,000 at the end of 24, 25, you had the 73 plus 50. So you had 125 in there in the anticipation of another 105 coming out that now will not. So you actually have about 123.
Okay, so we can take that out because we told the voters that's what it was for. That's what we're doing is we're buying a bus. And this is part of the bus, buying the bus. So we're probably really good. So is everybody okay with that?
I'm very okay with that.
Okay, so why don't we make a motion to expend the money and have it come out of the part of the bus reserve or the vehicle reserve fund?
This is looking at you, Dwight.
I'll let someone else do that.
Somebody's got to make a motion or we ain't going nowhere.
I would like to make a
So
motion.
moved.
Yes.
So what did you move, Laura? Just so we're on the same page, not to put you on the spot much.
Well, you just did. So
Okay.
you'll
Greg,
have to
help her.
repeat it. But
Greg, help.
You move to spend 22,000. Oh man, I have a different thing up. Come on, Dwight. Yeah, it's in front of you. It's the 16, 214, and 50.
Plus
So
5.
it's about $23,000 to finalize the installation of the electric bus, in hopes of grant money coming back. And
Yeah, all we gotta do is just spend the money. So
22,000. Yep.
okay, so Laura, is that good with you? You're gonna move to spend 22,000 for the charging station for the new bus.
Is that the exact amount?
21.
It sounds like it's not the exact amount. I need the exact amount.
21,964.
I move that we expend $21,964 for the new bus
Charging station.
charging.
Station.
infrastructure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect.
I don't even know if I want to second that.
Meredith, are you good with that motion?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to second it, Mike?
Sure. I'll
Okay, so
I'll second
Mike
that.
Mike seconds it. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It appears as though it's a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is. Now we can charge the bus that we bought.
Yeah. Well, we get the bus first. Let's do that
Okay.
first.
Is the work
So-
gonna be done prior to March?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it should be because it doesn't matter if the ground's froze.
No, it's not gonna be.
Nah,
It's
it's
not
all
gonna be
interior. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Okay, so congratulations, Greg. You got your first Electric Avenue bus.
Well, not yet.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dwight.
You got it. Thank you.
Well, just we'll remember that.
We're getting
Meredith,
close.
make sure you highlight that. Okay, so
No free
what
lunches
else do you
right
have for us there, Mr.
Wardsboro water system. So also you should have in your packet is a proposal from Christina Haskins. I spoke with her today. Given the amount of flow that they have and the amount of water that they have coming in the building, there would be no reason to install a day tank. So we would be able to we would get enough of the chlorination.
Hey, Greg, just so we make sure we get it right. The day tank is what holds the chlorine. What we don't have to install is any type of tank for the contact time because they already have a 1,550 gallon tank that will be more than sufficient for contact time.
That's exactly what I was getting to, Rich. Yes, is that we didn't need to add anything additionally to get the contact time that we need to add a chlorine system. And that's what, when Rich and I were chatting, it was at the SU board meeting. That was kind of what we were just kind of talking about was what we would need to do to make sure that we can put that in. So the benefit of this is we might spend a little bit more upfront between the engineering and the install of this system overall, but it'll still be way less than what the current UV system is, and your maintenance to it moving forward will be nothing. Whereas otherwise, like we talked about last meeting, the UV bulbs have to be changed at about almost $900 a bulb times 2 every single year. So in reality, say this ends up costing us, I think this is $11,000 for the engineering and $6 or $7 to put in estimated, right? So we spend 17 or 18 this year versus the 13 and change to install a UV, but in 3 years, this thing's going to have paid for itself. And ideally, we have this system in place for 20. So, I mean, the long term of this is spend a little bit more now and save a lot in the future. So.
Okay, so does anybody on the board have any questions for Greg?
What was the UV quote?
I believe the part for part replacement was like 13.7. I'd have to pull it up really quick. Give me 3 seconds.
And this one's 11,000?
No, the engineering is 11.
Okay.
Because you can't just do it because it's on a replacement.
Yeah.
So the engineer has to design it, send it to the state. The state wants their $1,000 for their bid, and then it'll be 6 to 7 roughly to install, depending on what they kind of request. But when they do the install, they want the day tank, everything plumbed, and they want an extra pump on site. So they're actually forcing you to kind of have the replacement already, at the place. So that's where Greg was saying it's going to be maybe $18,000 to $19,000 roughly. Okay. But the other one at 13 plus, $1,400 every year for bulbs, whether you use it or not. Yeah. In 4 or 5 years, you've more than covered it. Right. And if you go and do it in the future, it's not like you have to re-engineer it. So if you need to replace part of the system, it'll be
much cheaper to replace later.
Yeah, $12,838 was the part for part replacement on the UV system. So we had an estimate of a similar size system to this of being around 7,000. So if we have 11,000 here and then 7 there, we're at about 18. So, I do agree with Rich. I think that the reality is this is actually a better setup. And the only time we'd ever even have to chlorinate, because it's just a standby system, would be if something came up where we got flagged for. It turned out there was something going on with the water, but in essence, it's not going to run. So. In a way, I think it says to me that the UV is probably a little overkill and not necessary.
Well, and actually, the UV system doesn't disinfect to the same level as the chlorination system does.
It's true. Yep, that was exact. Chrissy said that this morning. So, yeah. So I would request the funding. To move forward to have the Wardsboro water system re-engineered, and then we would put out to bid to install a system once we get that done, once we get the permitting done.
And actually, the engineering includes them putting it out to bid and overseeing it and signing off and creating the O&M manual. So,
yep.
Okay. I move that we put the Wardsboro water system out to bid.
No, we're not putting it out to bid. What we're doing is we're hiring an engineer to design the system and to get it installed. We've got a contract with an engineer to do that. We didn't get pricing from engineers because there's not a lot of engineers that do it. And this engineer Greg's familiar with is working at Leland and Gray and doing some water system design work there.
So is the motion for you to sign the contract?
Yes, ma'am.
So I move that the chair sign the contract to move ahead with the Wardsboro water system.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Laura, you good?
Good.
You sir are good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is. Okay. Hey, Greg,
Excellent.
you got
Yes,
anything
sir.
else for us?
Well, I don't know if it got sent to you, but I do have the Dover retaining wall. I don't know if any of you have heard about this or not, but in the spring, in the early summer when I got over to Dover and we got ready to, initially I contracted with Walker Industries to just take out like a foot of the dirt so that we could put in the mulch, and it would all be ground level. And when I got there, it hadn't occurred to me, and admittedly, I did not. I was not as integrated of a part of the original specification of the playground. And so when I got there, I said, "Hey, this is supposed to be level ground. We need this to be level ground." And so when Walkers got there to start it, I asked them. I said, "Hey, can you put a retaining wall in over there so that this is level?" When I said that, I thought I was saying yes to if I was estimating off the top of my head, I would have said like a $10,000 to $15,000 project, which generally I wouldn't even really be comfortable with doing without your approval either. But we did just because we had, I think at that point we thought we had 4 days before the playground was going to show up. So we did it just because it really needed to be done for the sake of the play structure. What I did not account for was what that cost. So we did it on kind of a whim, just get this done for me. Again, I didn't think it'd take that. It ended up about 2 weeks later. It ended up getting done when I finally got an invoice from them because they just off the cuff quickly ordered all the block from Washburn Vault. When the bill came in, it was $54,000. So first of all, I would apologize to the board because it is not anything I would ever even fathom saying okay to without getting your approval. So I thoroughly apologize for that. But it's done at this point, and we need to pay the bill. And so I guess I wanted to just say that and give that to you all and talk this through with you. I don't know. There's not much else I can say really.
So, just so everybody knows, it wasn't just digging a foot of dirt out. What was it, about 4 blocks high?
That would sound average.
So 6 feet, 7 feet.
Yeah.
So there was 7 feet so it wasn't. The problem started with the chosen location, and Greg was never when we as a board started talking about this, we did not go and look at it. I, for some reason, just assumed it was going where the other playground was. I don't know how the decision was made that it was going to move. And, again, it's shame on all of us because I probably should have paid more attention. And Greg was busy making sure we were going to have a roof that didn't leak. And, we wanted to get the play structure done for the preschool by the time school opened. So, the building season is very short in Vermont. There was a lot of loads of fill. I think there's 40 or 50 loads of fill from the town that had to be compacted, because if you just dump 5 feet of fill in and don't compact it in the spring, it'll be 3 feet off level. And there's a lot of drainage because in Vermont things freeze, and if you don't put drainage in, I think there was 40 yards of stone, 3 or 4 loads of stone, 6 loads of stone at 18 yards. it's
Yeah.
60. You know, it's close to
Yeah,
100 yards.
It definitely, Rich, admittedly, it snowballed quickly into like, wow, this is way more than I thought because luckily, Travis Briggs from the town was bringing up loads of fill for us. They had stuff at some of their projects, and it was like, first it was like, oh, will you bring up a few trucks? And he brought up like 4 trucks, and they were like, hey, we're going to need like a bunch more of those, a lot more of those. And I was like, huh? And, that was for me kind of, and I did, at one point I reached out and let Rich know like, hey, this is happening. But again, like we didn't really have numbers, and it was a T&M bid. And it got bigger and faster than I ever would have imagined. It's a bummer because I think it came out nice. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful spot, beautiful playground. But for me personally, it now has this kind of black cloud over it because it's hard to have spent that kind of money without your approval.
So I think what we need to do, it is done. It needs to get paid. It should get paid out of operational, because we've always told the voters we're not going to take money out of capital unless you guys approve it. And we didn't bring it to the voters. We did tell them we were doing the playground, but not that much. And I think it's just a good lesson for all of us that nothing should be done on the building or grounds without the facilities manager being fully involved and fully aware and fully vested. So I think, we can't not pay it. I did ask Mike to look at it real quick with me last meeting. It seems a little high, but also when you look at how much was done and the cost of I'm glad we didn't have to buy the fill on top of everything. So I think what you need to do, Greg, is you need to work with Tracy and Heidi and just figure out how we're going to cover that. If it comes out operational, we're going to have to figure out how we save some money elsewhere to make sure we have enough to cover that.
Yes, sir. We will do the best we can for sure.
And hang on, you don't get off that easy, unfortunately.
No, that's fine.
Anybody else from the board? Any comments or questions or thoughts? Laura, you good?
I'm good.
You guys good?
Yeah, good.
Okay. I guess you got off easier than you thought you were gonna.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. Like I said, when I initially reached out to you about it, was I don't want you all feeling that this is a way that I normally operate. This is not. I always want to be transparent. I always want to, just as you say, right? I would always want to be able to stand before you and say, this is what I did with your money, and I did the best that I could. And so, I still feel that way, but I sure don't appreciate doing it without it. So thank you. I appreciate your support.
Well, the other thing too, everybody's got to remember too, is, there's not a lot of people just standing around twiddling thumbs looking for something to do for work, and especially with equipment. So to get it done in time to open, have it for when the kids came up at school, and where it's located over, by the addition, in front of the addition. It's something you didn't want equipment running around while school was in session, because I know if I was in school and I was there, I wouldn't be in the classroom. I'd be outside playing in the mud. So I think it's, there was a whole bunch of issues that came up, but you had somebody who could jump right on it, and that's got to be worth something. And it's done before school started, so Tracy could, and the kids could be out there and enjoy it. So that's got to be worth something too. I just think in the future we need to plan ahead a little better. And when we have one of these projects coming up, we need to make sure, that it's been fully vetted before we just go and say, okay, spend this amount of money on a playground. We really need to know the entire cost. So, but hopefully we won't have to do a playground at either building for at least until I'm gone.
I got one more.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I'm just saying it's a beautiful playground, and it is quite nice. I get to school a little early.
You play on
So no, it's nice to when you pull in. There's kids on it every day when I pull in, and they're having the time of their lives. It came out really nice, and it's really front and center when you're pulling right down the road. So I like it a lot. I'm just gonna say it came out really well.
So
Thanks.
good job, everybody. So yeah, Heidi, can you just work with Tracy and Greg and just kind of give us kind of an update? We'll be 6 months in December, so maybe you can just see what, if there's things that didn't come out as expensive as we thought.
Sure, and I apologize. I found my spreadsheets finally. It takes me a little longer to maneuver through the Google Docs. So I will make sure I have them front and center for the future meetings of your capital expenses and your budget, but I will work with Greg.
Yeah, the next time we'll need to know about capitals at budgeting time and also when we
Yeah.
discuss the roof too. So,
Okay.
but
Apologize.
the other thing is maybe you can make sure that we get a spreadsheet, like a balance sheet.
Would you like it monthly? Would you like it at every meeting? What
monthly,
would you like?
monthly would be good, and maybe we'll do it
in the daylight
at the second meeting.
Came out good.
No.
The
Second
meeting at the
meeting.
Dover building, and then that way Bob can bring it with him.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And so, any other comments, Mike? You're all good?
All good.
Okay. It's a real quick funny story. So when we built the first playground, there was this guy called Dr. Play, and I called him Dr. Death because the stuff he was having us do when we were building it was just unreal. And we had 2 little excavators, a bunch of tractors, and we were moving mulch, and we did the whole thing in a day. And Andrew Seaton's daughter was like 5 years old. And when it was all done, because the kids came out, they had a big lunch, and and she said there's a bunch of people there, and they said, well, what do you think? And she put her hands on her hips like a big sign, said, I've been waiting for this all of my life. So, and it's fun. It's important how, the playgrounds are really important to the kids. And I think it helps the staff too, because maybe they get a little of their energy out, so they're a little easier in the classroom. So I know we put a lot of money into them, but we've got some really nice playgrounds now. And I know Kate was very supportive and really thought that they all came out really well too. So, and if you all look, Bob in the upper corner, they didn't pay their bills in the West River District, so they keep turning the power off on them. So he's got to go put money in the meter to keep it going. Greg, are you all good? Are we done with you, sir?
Great. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I appreciate it. Heidi, so you don't have to stay because Bob's still got 5 minutes. Do you have anything that you want to cover other than we have to approve the financials? We really approved them. We just ratify them.
I do want to just touch on the ESSER funds. There was a question about this, and it was on your agenda about a woman's questions about River Valley's ESSER funds for the past few years. Would you like me to address that?
I tell you what, though, I just looked at my watch. Bob, you got to leave shortly. Do you want to hit yours first? Is there anything you have, or do you want to be here for this, or is there anything?
Yeah, this is pretty short if you want to have her go. She just has a quick response to those questions from last time.
Okay, so last meeting, we had a member of the public come to the meeting live and request, had some questions about strategy for budgeting, and one of them was, what have we done with the ESSER fund? So go ahead.
So in looking back over the last couple of years, River Valley was subgranted for ESSER 2 and ARP ESSER funds, totaling about $158,000 over the course of those two different grants. The majority, most all of it, was spent between 3 to 4 different places. There was summer programming that was increased over a couple years' time, so that was a bulk of some of the money. There was tutoring programs that were put in place for teachers to work with kids that needed extra help. We increased a counselor by 0.5, and there was some funds spent in the building operational budget for building ops. So 158,000 pretty much across those 4 areas, but the bulk was summer programming for a couple of years, and the part-time counselor that was increased to a full-time counselor.
Was the building stuff, was that for the filters, the air filters that we put in?
That was pretty much purchased at an SU level the first year, which is why a lot of money didn't get sub-granted that first year with the ESSER 1 funds. The SU kind of purchased all those air systems with the filters and all that materials, masks, all that came through the SU and was divided out to the schools, not sub-granted money.
Okay, if you could do us a favor, Heidi, and just write that up and kind of put the numbers to those 4 subcategories so we can share that with the public at the next meeting. And then if you send that to me after the board sees it, I'll make sure we get that to that
individual
resident who wanted it. Yeah.
Okay.
So is everybody okay with that? Any questions for Heidi on ESSER? You all set? Okay, Laura, you good?
I am good.
And I think too, I just want to make a point too, that the SU did very well with ESSER funds because a lot of other districts took their ESSER funds and they were gone as soon as they had them. And they had a huge cliff because usually grants you can't subplant. You can only supplement or do more. But with ESSER, you were allowed to subplant, so you could use that and not, pay something that you already had and use the money that you had for something else. And other schools just used it, or there's a lot of schools in the state that just used it, and it was gone. And Lori brought to the SU and to the individual boards a plan to stretch them out over like 5 years, wasn't it, Bob?
Yeah, we're still just coasting off the end of it now. Yep.
Where a lot of other schools it was gone in year 2, so I think the SU very wisely didn't just throw the money away. So I think everybody did a really good job with it. I know everybody did a good job with it.
And if you need more information on that, Heidi can also provide the slide from the SU retreat, which had quite a bit of information about where the money went SU wide.
Okay. And then we also had some pay warrants to approve. So we had pay warrant 18, 19, and 20. Number 18 was $1,070,547.53, and that was a lot of supplies. First half of a lot of the tuition. I think there was a payment to the SU in there. So, those are the two big ones we see in usually September, October, and then we usually see December, January. We see the second half of the tuition paid. And then there's a $2,286.70 paid, and that was for the credit cards, the debit cards or credit cards that the buildings have to buy supplies with. And we had a small one of $256.76 for some cards too. I had one question, and you don't have to answer it now, but if you guys could look into it. I noticed on some of the classroom supplies, things are getting shipped all over the place, not to the buildings. And I think some of them must be going to teachers' houses or whichever staff is ordering it. And that seemed like, that doesn't seem really appropriate. I would think everything would get shipped to the building.
Maybe that's for the P cards.
Huh?
Maybe that's for the P cards. Those are the.
No, it said ship to, and then the bill to was Wyndham Central. Oh. So can you just look at.
How do you feel in the summertime about them shipping to their homes rather than a school that's not necessarily staffed? I mean, I certainly understand your concern, and we can make it that requirement during the school year, but how do you feel about that during the summer?
Well, I think maybe we ought to plan ahead. I mean, there should be somebody in the school almost every day. I mean, that's one of the things we requested 20 years ago.
Okay.
You have janitorial staff, you have administrative staff. I don't know. So I didn't know that was happening. It just seems weird when I actually read all of them. There were some that were 400 or 500 pages long this time.
Yes. Yeah.
And it takes quite a while, but if you don't want us to review them either, then we don't have to. But it's a question I had. It just seems.
I don't think that restriction was given to anybody, so I feel like that's certainly something we can convey going forward.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. If it's something that we should be doing, somebody should let us know. I mean, it looks strange. If I was somebody in the public reviewing some of the stuff that got shipped and wondering where it's going. And the only reason I knew one of it was to somebody's home is I just recognized the address.
Yeah, no, I understand. We make them fill out these forms explaining that they're for classroom supplies.
Okay.
So it is reducing what they can spend on the classroom, but I can certainly make that restriction that it has to be.
Well, I don't know if we should. I'd like you just to have a discussion and come back to us and let us know.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same thing with the mileage. I've looked sometimes and mileage doesn't make sense because people are doing mileage from different places that aren't their homes and aren't the school. So and
there's different categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have a conversation about that anytime.
Well, I think we should put it together and the board should weigh in on it, how they feel.
Okay.
So I got those 3 pay warrants, pay order 18, 19, and 20. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Okay, Dwight moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Laura. Meredith, in the do you have the numbers or?
I don't, but I just asked Sue to send them to me, so I'll fill it in later.
Okay. So we have a motion by Dwight, a second by Laura. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of spending $1,072,900, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Appears to be unanimous decision in the affirmative.
Just spent $1 million.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? We just spent $1 million. We feel like the federal government.
That is not cool.
It's not cool. No, it's a lot of money, but
I feel
tuition's a big expense for us.
it's mostly tuition.
You know, it's in half our students, or more than half, right? Pre-K, K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, no, a little less than half, right?
Right, half our students go to
Huh?
secondary. Right, about half the kids are going to secondary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, at $20,000 a whack, it doesn't.
Adds up
It
quick.
adds
Yeah.
up.
And Kay, Heidi, anything else from you?
Nope, that does it for me.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You want to watch Bob, and you can rate Bob again one
I
last time.
actually have to drive to the other meeting, so
Oh.
I'm gonna log off this time.
Okay, thank you. Bob,
Thanks. Yeah.
I don't think there wasn't much from you. You were going to just talk about the WCSU retreat quickly.
Yeah, so I have obviously just a quick update on we had the retreat. You got my cabinet report the end of last week. You got our newsletter that came out. But basically the gist of I want to share with folks what I shared at the SU retreat, which was initially described as a doom and gloom report, but another board member said, you shouldn't call it that. It's just the reality. And I sort of teed up sort of what are the challenges that we're facing this coming budget year, starting with, what unknowns may come out of the first report from the Commission on the Future of Public Education, which will come out in December and inform the legislature. The PICUS report, which just came out, I think I forwarded that to board members as well, which was requested by the legislature, which has a model around how to fund schools. I talked about enrollment and the trend of enrollment declining, not only in our SU, but in the entire southeast region of the state as a whole, and nationally. We talked about the staffing ratios, how Vermont has the highest ratio of fewest kids per adult in the nation. And I gave some data around the size of our supervisory union in comparison to other SUs across the state and our region, and talked about the geographic size of ours compared to the student size of ours. And just I'll leave you with this piece that we make up 40% of Windham County land-wise as an SU, 40% of the county, but only have about 17% of the population. So very rural, very scarcely populated. And as you guys all know, that's where some of the most challenging situations are around operating schools. So just sort of setting up that dialogue to have to encourage the SU board and individual districts to be thinking about how to set ourselves up in a way proactively rather than being forced to react to whatever challenges are going to come from either new legislation or different formulas that may come down the pike, or the commission has recommendations about optimal school sizes or whatever comes out of it, that we should be thinking proactively about how to ensure that we're set up best to respond to those things and be ready rather than just be sitting here waiting. So that was really my report that I share at the SU level, and thought I would just share that with the whole board with you guys now, and that is all I have.
Hey, Bob, can you send that PowerPoint out to the board for those that weren't there?
Yeah.
Because I think there's some really good slides, and we don't have to send all the school ones out.
Well, it's all one PowerPoint, so we'll PDF it and send it out. Yep.
So Bob does have to leave, and I don't want to hold him up from West River, but if you guys can all take a look at that, and then if anybody has any questions, we can ask Bob about it at our next meeting.
Yeah, I would, if I might, Rich.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to note with that PICUS report, I don't know that that had broad legislative consideration, the request for that. And there's a lot of, I think, concern about it.
Yeah, the modeling is not ideal for Vermont in general, but definitely not for rural, scarcely populated areas. And I think that's been well publicized in the media with the release of the report. So, but just another factor, just one thing to talk about, and yeah. So, but all right. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to go into the next room and make sure their Zoom is ready to go. And wish you guys a nice early night.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks,
Have a good one.
So, what do? We go to the visiting team first.
Yes, we do.
Tracy, the Northern Light lady.
I have just a couple of things to report. I'm super excited about this new milk machine that we got that I sent a picture of you guys in my principal's report. So we now have for our children fresh, local, organic milk that we purchased through Miller's Farm out of Brattleboro. We got the machine from Jake from Leland and Gray, who he got an extra one through his grant, and he it was supposed to go to a different school. They didn't want it, so he put it out to the rest of the elementaries, and I scooped it up as quickly as I could, and the kids love it. I just think it's super great that we can support local farms, that we're actually taking the entire school on a field trip to Miller's Farm this Thursday, so that the kids can see where their milk is coming from and who makes it. And I don't know, I'm just really excited about it. And our new para finally started today. Robin Johnson joined our school family. She had a wonderful day, and she just wanted me to pass along that just the joy and family that she can feel when she's in the building just really made her heart feel great. It's a place that her kids grew up, and she's super excited to give back to the community by becoming one of our paraprofessionals. So that is all I have.
Thank you, Tracy. And just remember too, you guys don't. Oh, your written report usually comes down the first one. So, is there anything on the written report too, Trace? That I was a little messed up. I was thinking, the second report, the second meeting of the month, you guys have already done your written report. So, excuse me.
No, this was the written one. Yeah.
Hey, just real quick. So, what are the two different udders on the cow?
We've got chocolate and 1%.
Oh, no kidding. Cool.
Fantastic.
I didn't know they made chocolate in the bags.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, good job. Thank you.
Thanks.
Their maple milk is wicked.
Wow. Hey.
Well,
Laura, you got anything for Tracy in Dover?
Do not.
You guys all set?
All set. That's exciting. Yeah.
Okay, home team's up.
all right. We've had a busy couple weeks. We had conferences at the end of October. We had an amazing turnout. 94% of our families showed up for conferences, which was amazing. We also, we have our all school sing on Thursdays, and the kids did a Halloween Readers Theater, and we invited families. About 17 families come, which was great. We had the Turnip Festival, and the kids had all their artwork presented there. And the 1st of November, we had a fall festival in lieu of Halloween. And the school club put that on. There was like 12 different activities for kids, making cupcakes and decorating pumpkins. So we've been having a lot of fun. We've also been doing a lot of PD. We had one teacher just go to Dummerston, and Wednesday, one of the teachers and I are going to Ludlow to observe an EL class, multi-grade EL class, which is something we've been looking for. So our STEAM coordinator just did her PD on those smart lamps, so we're going to be starting those next week. And yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for Wardsboro?
I just wanted to point out about the Bucketville News. And
Oh yes, one of our sixth graders got published.
I know, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I think Kate sent it out to
She sent it to
everybody in
everybody,
case you
yeah.
didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a great article. She wrote it a while ago, and she would, it's only published I think once a month, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So she was like really anticipating. So I got her autograph once it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case she
How much
becomes-
it cost you?
Didn't cost me anything. Didn't
I
cost
would
me
have charged you
anything.
a cookie.
Yeah, well,
You're a budding journalist.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the kids have been busy and really kind of guiding us what they want to do. So it's been awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, and the plow day is the 7th.
The what?
You
Plow
name
day?
a plow.
Oh.
And ours was named the Wardsboro Warrior. And they will be here on the 7th, so we can take a picture with the whole school around the plow.
Exciting.
Lots happening.
Yes.
Laura, are you all
Exciting.
good?
Yes.
You guys good?
Oh, good.
Yeah. Thank you, Jessica.
Eli, you all set? Hey, I want to wait till after they both did their presentation. So I know 3 of us saw it, 4 of us saw it. We actually had 4 people at Wyndham Central. So all the schools do a little presentation. Newbrooks was interesting because they had something about fish. And I didn't, remember because I asked the question, what was the fish thing? Raise a fish or something? They grow fish in Wardsboro School and then they let it go in the spring.
Oh, in Newbrook.
In Newbrook,
Were
yeah.
they salmon?
Scott.
I don't remember that part.
Was it salmon or was it trout? I thought it was like trout in the school or something. So I didn't know if they were serving trout or teaching the kids. But Dover and Wardsboro, we did it. The schools did it together. The districts did it together. So Dover and Wardsboro, our 2 administrators presented, and I thought they did an excellent job. And I want to compliment you both at the same time. It was really cool. It was like it was one school district with there are 2 different little focuses on IB and on STEAM, and it was really well done, and you folks deserve pats on the back. So I can't pat you, Tracy, so you have to do your own pat on the back. And so they did really good, and we should really be proud of them when you look at what's going on in the whole SU, and we're right up there with the rest of them. So good job, folks. Very, very good. So now we can all go to Dover and learn how to milk a cow machine.
We do that in Vernon.
Huh?
Vernon.
Vernon?
That's where it comes from.
Oh.
You go milk it
I
in
thought it was
Vernon,
in
bring it to them.
Dummerston. Oh, I thought the Miller farm was in Dummerston.
No, it's the one right by the plant. I could be mistaken, but
So it's
pretty sure in
radioactive
Vernon.
milk. Cool. Is there any other new business I missed? Okay, hearing none. We have the consent agenda, the minutes at 10:21. Oh, I'm sorry, no, back to new business. I'm sorry. Tracy, you have no,
No, I do.
you do. So we have a professional contract. We were finally able to hire a Spanish teacher for the Wardsboro campus. So we've got Nicole Bartfeld, and it's a 0.1, so it's half a day a week.
Yep.
And when did they start?
Started November 1st.
Okay, so we just need a motion for the chair to sign the contract. It's she has an MA. It's 0.1, and the compensation is $4,238 a year, which is well within your budget. Position's budgeted. It's not an unbudgeted. It's just been unfilled for
a while.
yeah, since last year. You can't make a motion, sorry.
I didn't think so.
Can I move it?
Yeah, you want to move it?
Move it.
Okay, so Dwight moves that the chair sign a contract for Nicole Bartfeld for the Spanish teacher for 0.1 at the Wardsboro campus. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mike. Seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Appears to be a unanimous decision. You said aye.
Yeah.
Appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is. Okay, so you now have an official.
Hey now.
Today's the 4th. Okay, believe that is it, folks. If we
Thank
we can move, you're welcome. I'm glad that you're finally fully staffed.
Yeah, me too.
Tracy, you're fully staffed too, right? Was Robin a replacement? That must be an SU position.
No. So I explained this to Mike when he helped us do interviews. So this position was originally Miss Katrina, who moved from our pre-K to our fifth grade teacher. And then the person that we had hired to replace her in preschool didn't work out. And we moved around some people in our building. And so then we still had this vacant spot. So.
Are we gonna have to sign a contract for her?
Oh, I think you already did. It's hers is just a letter of employment, so Bob signs those.
Okay, cool. So we're all good. We don't have to worry about that then.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I should have asked that earlier.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so we have consent agenda minutes of the 10/21/24 meeting. If there's no comments on those, and Meredith's done her usual excellent job, I guess we will just accept them by unanimous consent. So what we do is, unless there's something to change, and nobody has any objections, we just accept them. Okay, and then I have no correspondence, and I don't Bill. Bob didn't have any. You guys are good. So you know what comes next?
Wow. Motion to adjourn?
Mike makes a motion to adjourn at what, 7:06?
7:06. Wow.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hey.
That's a record.
Okay, folks, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.